This is the Danger Close podcast, Beyond the Books with me, Jack Carr.
Jack Carr checking in here for the November video update. And I'm thinking this is going to be a long one because I have some negative reviews to read. I have a lot of gear that's come in over the last month and want to cover the books for the November reading list selection. So let's kick this thing off with some negative reviews. And I'm not sure how long I'm going to keep doing these negative reviews because I don't know how healthy it is to sift through those each and every month to pick out some of the gems to read and share. But we'll see. We'll see. And I don't recommend it. If you're a new author or any author or anyone in the creative space, I don't recommend diving too deep into any of the reviews, good or bad. I know it's a curiosity, that's for sure. But to spend too much time in those negative reviews at a time when you have no idea who the person is that's writing it or why they're spending so much time focused on something negative when they could be allocating their bandwidth to something positive and moving themselves and their life forward. I mean, who knows? But point being, don't recommend spending time in the negative reviews, dwelling on it, or letting them get you down. You can control that piece by not looking. But sometimes it's kind of fun to go through and share a little bit with you about what some other people feel about my writing. Just how it goes. So here we go. Let's kick this thing off. All right. Nikki. I'm guessing this is female. I was completely thrown off by the main character losing his wife, who he adored. He did, in a gruesome murder, and then becoming attracted to a woman journalist, female journalist, almost right away. WTH. I just couldn't get past it. And understood. It wasn't right away. I mean, there's a couple chapters in between, but point taken. Let's see. Here we go. Amazon customer. First used book here. So it's the first time they're buying a used book on Amazon. Showed up with chocolate between the cover and the book. Got 2 stars for this one. Let's see. Book had chocolate on the bottom half, on all sides, but mostly along the spine. I hope you enjoyed eating most of the chocolate. Curious to know what kind of chocolate it was. Excited to have the book, though. Oh, thanks for the 2-star there. All right, here's another one. 1 star. Save your money. I got about halfway through this book before I gave up. A lot of people giving up these days. Something I rarely do. Well, that's good that it's rare, a rare occurrence. Page after page about guns and what they do is not my thing. Yeah, don't get any more of my books. After about half of the book, I couldn't figure out the plot or what was going on. Yeah, not for everybody. If you're into guns, maybe you'll like this book. But it made no sense to me. Yep, not for you. All right, here's another one. 1 star. Waste. I should have spent my time watching paint dry. Would have been time better spent. This drag on and going nowhere for page after page. Gave up. A lot of this giving up going around. Hey, you got to stick to it, man. We're Americans here. All right, here's another one. Conclusion. First book needed some work, but made me excited about reading the second book. That's good. Second book, the type of book I could happily read again. That's great. I was a true believer. Third book, Savage Son. Should probably sue the author for time wasted that I won't get back. All right. Well, I'm guessing that you stuck through it to the end. So well done. All right, here we go. Another one here from Amazon. Do not read, all in capital, exclamation points, 3 exclamation points. This book sucks. Super disappointed. I pre-ordered because I couldn't stop reading the other books in this series. I have been trying to get through it for weeks. Too bad I had hopes for this author. No punctuation in this. It makes me think that, is this Christopher Walken? Did you do this? I don't think so, because I know Christopher Walken would like these books. So, yeah, 1 star. No punctuation. All right. Let's see. Oh, this was the last one. I'll go put that where... There it goes. All right. A couple of these are long now. Here we go. I don't know that I like former Navy SEALs writing fiction. I'll leave it at that. I'm a pacifist by conviction, but I do enjoy a good fictional thriller. Thought I'd give Carr a shot, and well, other authors have commented on his accuracy and realism, and if it's true, I redouble my commitment to pacifism. That's pretty funny. All right, Carr waxes eloquent about how the men who signed up to fight after the towers fell, I think he means, were the kind of men who knew where to sit on airplanes to best protect others. It's weird, violent patriotism. Yes. I guess it's a good thing that there are people out there that want to protect you. Plot and character development take a backseat to action, preferably violent. Carr attempts to organically weave in past storylines, but to middling effect. I ended up reading a bunch of reviews of books 1 through 3 in order to understand how we got to book 4. Interesting way to go about it. You could start at book 1. Usually thrillers like this are able to function as a standalone. I wouldn't say this is the case for The Devil's Hand. Good point. I recommend people start at the beginning and then work up. It's probably a better reading experience that way, more fulfilling. All right. What plot there is, the president hires a mercenary, is so over the top that it makes Chuck Norris films look realistic. Nice. But I guess that's what this is. It's an 80s action movie in 2020's clothing. It's a pretty good song, pretty good line. It has its place, I guess, but I'd rather just go read Rambo again. Interesting that you like Rambo as a pacifist, which doesn't surprise me. Actually, if you've read the first novel, First Blood, written in 1972, never out of print, coming up on, in 2022, 50 years of never having been out of print. So I'm going to take this one as a compliment to read Rambo again. Any comparison there? Thumbs up. Rambo is one of those characters. I think it's Rambo, Tarzan, and Sherlock Holmes, who are the 3 most recognizable names in all of literature. So that's pretty good. So thanks for spending the time. Okay, here's another one. This one was mean. Gosh. Wow, and they took some time with it too. I really wanted to like this effort by Jack Carr. His previous presentations were no doubt intriguing and well-received books, telling the tall tales of a unique lead character, James Reese. Having recommended Carr's library to many friends over the years, I and my clubs were excited to read this large 4th offering of the well-liked James Reese. All right, starting pretty good. Oh, then we get to this, and it has quotation marks here. Can you tell me this story gets better? I am on page 206, and I want to burn it, was the message received from my friend who had started the book the day after I did. I replied with, quotation marks, keep reading. It gets worse. Trust me, it is really bad the further you get. Okay. You might be two that should quit early on. This book is the worst book I have read in 2 years. Well, just 2 years. I wonder what that one was before this. The story is amateurish. The characters are under and overdeveloped. I just can't win with some people in ways I did not know were possible. If the story, if summarized, is absolutely absurd. Just absurd. I am guessing when the publishers received this book from the author, they read it, rolled their eyes, and said, well, I guess, misspelled, we can sell it. But the people are not going to like it. I would guess his first 3 books were 1,000 pages. You would be wrong. And the publisher pulled back to a readable novel. This book feels like it was delivered at 600 pages and they left them all in. Well, your guesses are wrong. But thanks for taking the time to write that. Okay, this one, look at how long this one is. I mean, and this one is crazy. I can't figure out if this is a good review or a bad review. There's good stuff in here. There's bad stuff in here. But you know what? This one is really well written. This person who wrote this, I don't know who you are, but you should probably write a book or become a actual professional critic or something, because it's actually really well done, really well written. I mean, I don't like some of it, obviously. So here we go. Jack Carr lives, as we all do, in the shadow of the master, Tom Clancy. He puts a twist on the formula. Yes, he describes how things work. Guns, bombs, diseases. Yes, he writes complicated techno thrillers. No one called him a techno thriller before, but, I'll take it. Yes, he is conservative. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. But he is also a sponsored social media tactical influencer, whatever that is. But what's interesting about that is that the only sponsors are on the podcast, and all the first 4 books were written before the podcast. So yeah, it would probably happen the opposite way that this person thinks it did. Anyway, regardless, his resume is his sales pitch. Ex-Navy SEAL, sniper, big game hunter, Land Rover owner. It's a Land Cruiser owner, but okay. Father, husband, son, patriot. The Tier 1 beard. Thank you. And EDC hatchet, everyday carry hatchet, are his calling cards. He's not a businessman. He is a business, man. Gosh, this is pretty clever. He writes books with the vibe of a highsnobriety.com style guide, a shopping lift of lifestyle brands and high-speed, low-drag equipment manufacturers vertically integrated into the retail ecosystem of the discerning upper-middle-class right-wing consumer. Gosh, what a sentence. That's crazy. It's possible that I just like gear. But here we go. The target audiences for his art are people who like action, sure, and people who like the military, and people who like capital C conservative politics, though not necessarily the Republican politicians who embody those politics. But those audiences are secondary. Jack Carr writes books first and foremost for the type of guy who self-describes as a gear guy. I love it. Interesting. He loves it. Tom Clancy captured the wallets of 80s America by writing dad vibe violence chic for the spec sheet nerds and chain guides owners in all of us. I mean, seriously, this person should be a critic. Maybe they are. Everybody's a critic, they say, but this guy should get paid for it. This is really good. Jack Carr found his niche appealing to our inner gun porn. Having done his revenge as origin story, take on Without Remorse, The Terminal List, soon to be a prestige Amazon web series, Jack now does what is essentially a stripped-down remake of Clancy's encyclopedic late-period magnum opus, Executive Orders, A Driven President, A Country Recovering from a Disaster, Ebola, Iran, Emerging Powers, and Contact Tracing, Domestic Unrest, and Military Maneuvers. Carr seems to operate at his peak when he's inspired. His extended 4th act homage to the most dangerous game in the last installment of his James Reese series, Savage Son, was at that time the best thing he'd written yet. Thank you. The Terminal List and its heavily Clancy-indebted sequel, True Believer, both sucked. I don't know if that's the best sentence, but, maybe you'd have an editor that would work on that a little bit. But, it's funny. But Carr has been getting better at writing this sort of book. Thank you. Savage Son turned some sort of corner. It wasn't bad. The Devil's Hand is better. Thank you. This thing, well written here. As is increasingly the case with James Reese novels, Carr starts the book slow. Clancy again. He seems eager to lose track of the plot early in a tangle of minor characters, historical context, digressive subplots, and technical info dumps. Big chunks of the book, early and late, are given over to extended blog post political manifestos. This is where Carr leaves his elders behind. This is where you got to give Carr credit. He innovates into the contemporary. Jack Carr writes books for today. Gosh, I can't tell if I love this or hate it. I do love the writing. Very good. The world of the Devil's Hand is hypercurrent. America has just recovered from COVID-19. We are still shaken by the Trump presidency. Antifa gets co-billing with the Ayatollahs. The politics of the 90s are insufficient to the moment, so there are no lengthy speeches by Jack Ryan, no discussions of tax policy or Cold War realpolitik. There are some conservative constitutional lawyering. The founding document is God's gospel after all, but it feels functionatory, which is, I guess, realism. That violence was always going to happen, man. Principle is the relative to process. Legality is a veneer on the inevitable. I mean, that's pretty good stuff. You see, unlike Clancy's stodgy Reagan-era conservatism, Carr is a libertarian neo-populist sort. He likes cops, but he also likes the Second Amendment and his God-given right to not be bothered. Truth. He likes the military and spies, but he hates surveillance and corrupt bureaucracy. He agrees with Republican Party policy, but despises Republican Party politicians. He knows too many facts about history and politics to be idealistic, but his ideology requires a measure of naivete to smooth over its internal inconsistencies. Come on. That is a good stuff right there. Man, if whoever this is, if you're listening to this, you need to take the next step and write something and submit it, get an agent, go to work for a newspaper, a magazine, at least come up with a blog or something. A major subplot of the book is explicitly staged like one of those Federalist articles that purport to be advice from conservative to liberals. This is how you win. Be exactly like me, but nicer. I don't know whether it was sincere. I can't tell. It reads like wish fulfillment. What if there was a Democrat who didn't care about culture war? What if he liked the troops and tax breaks? What if in addition to Social Security and limited Medicare expansion, he was also into assassination? Modern problems require modern solutions. These sections are the thematic spine of the novel, but they drag. Sorry. Carr makes up for it, though. Oh, cool. While the ending is anticlimactic, last half of The Devil's Hand moves like a freight train. Gunfights on knife fights on riots, featuring several of the striking images that Carr has become an expert at conjuring. Perhaps the best one, a guy in a hazmat suit with a SIG pistol walks up an empty suburban street, fluttering curtains, fast food wrappers rolling across the asphalt like tumbleweeds, a gunfighter going to war with the plague itself. That is a fantastic sentence. Bravo. I mean, that's really good. Carr shines with the action. He loves to stage a fight from multiple perspectives, splitting up the beats across time and replaying them, this time in slow motion, this time over night vision, this time in a mission debrief. He revels in the description of violence. This book has the genre requisite, insanely brutal torture sequence. And boy, is that a thing I absolutely read? Yes, sir. He likes to describe a tactic and then show his characters using it later. He likes to reference things you've heard before, like get off the X. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast, tap, rack, bang, which is kind of how the whole book works. It's specifically for people in a demographic. If you know, you know. You might not like the whole thing. You will see its flaws and you will roll your eyes, maybe at its excesses, but it's for you. You asked for this. It's fast food. It's crack. It's a scratched itch. You will be satisfied. I love this. If you don't know, well, it's in the lineage of Clancy after all. Wait for the TV show. That's so good. I mean, well done. And yeah, that TV show is coming sometime in 2020. And it's pretty dang good. Oh, in post-production right now. But hey, whoever you are, if you see this or listen to it or whatever, well done. You are extremely talented. Awesome. All right. And that goes where that goes. Let's see. What should we go into next? Let's hit some gear, some November gear. So there's a lot going on this month. I mean, crazy month. Let's see. Look at this. This right here. All right. For anybody in Wisconsin or traveling through Wisconsin, Lost Canyon Wagon Tours. And I think it's Lost Canyon Horse Tours or horse rides on Instagram. But regardless, Lost Canyon, it pops up and one, they make a great coffee cup. So thank you so much for sending. Love this coffee cup. But go on that website. It looks awesome. Like if I'm passing through Wisconsin, I'm stopping because check out some of the photography there. And on that ride looks incredible. So thank you so much for sending this. And yeah, very cool. All right. Where to next? The Outdoorsmans. All right. Check this out. Man, I have wanted this tripod for years and years and years. And somebody saw me in Alaska on a hunt I did. If you're curious about that or the gear, you can go to the blog and click on that Alaska hunt blog post for a moose hunt. But somebody saw me post a picture with a Swarovski optic on a different tripod. And they tagged the Outdoorsmans. Amazing. They got in touch and they sent me the tripod, all the attachments. So cool. I even sent in my Swarovski binos, and they put a base plate on there that's going to fit with this. So super cool. I cannot wait to give this a try for real. I should be heading to Colorado here pretty soon after a mule deer. So cannot wait to try this thing for real, and just too cool. Mark, thank you so much for sending. Just awesome. Just awesome. All right. SOG. Man, a friend at SOG sent me some blades to take up to Alaska. So I did. Worked out great. Loved them. And so I posted about them when I got back, and they just sent this. Nice box. And open it up, and this is an auto-loading folder right there. So look at this thing. Bam. Nice work. Ooh. Yeah. So yeah, check out SOG, and they've been around for a while. My first experience with them was in the back of a brigade quartermaster or U.S. Cavalry, probably both. It was like a catalog back in the 80s. I don't know when exactly they stopped printing it, but I used to collect. I used to have all of them, and they had such cool stuff in there. But one of those things was a SOG knife, and I couldn't afford it at the time. But I need to find one of those from that era, by the way. But anyway. SOG knives right here. Thank you guys. Very cool. Awesome. Anybody else out there read that Brigade Quartermaster or the U.S. Cavalry magazine? Those were pretty sweet. Those were really sweet. What else do we have here? SIG. Bam. So we went out to this SIG Hunter Games, the first ever SIG Hunter Games, and I'll talk about this in a second right behind me. But it was awesome. And you can check out SIG Hunter Games. Something will pop up. I did a blog post on it if you want to go to officialjackcarr.com and check that out. We had teams, and I got very lucky with my team. I had the Bullet Valentina UFC fighter, UFC champion, man, on my team. Incredible. And we had a guide. So everybody had a guide with them. So it was a 3-person team, and it was incredible. So we got second. Not bad. Not bad. I had a great time out there, but every participant got to keep their rifle, got to keep their new cross, which I'll show you here in a second, and got a P320. So P320, if you have followed me for a while, you know I have a couple of these things. And what I love about this pistol is that out of the box, this thing is ready to rock. Sights are great. It's going to work. So awesome. So SIG, thank you so much for inviting me to the Hunter Games. It was incredible. And for this, but very cool. And here's the rifle. So right here, bam. And this is part of the BDX system right here. So BDX, which means you can range something with the binos. It talks to your optic here, and oh, it's our team right there, Maverick. Sweet. And right here, this boom, nothing in there. Safe. So it talks to the scope, puts a little dot in there, and it worked awesome. So the whole time we were out there, we were out there for 4 days. 2 days was the competition, and it worked flawlessly out there. I mean, we crushed it with this Spartan bipod on here, and I'll definitely be using that again. That worked great. But here it is, and check that out. You can see it says SIG Hunter Games on there. Very cool. So SIG, thank you so much. That is awesome. Yeah, very cool. Put that back here. All right. Oh, might as well talk about this. Bam, Devil's Hand. By the time this drops, it might be out. I don't know. But it comes out end of November, paperback, Devil's Hand. And in the back of this, there's a little preview of In the Blood. So you get the prologue of In the Blood and the back of the paperback version of The Devil's Hand. Very cool. All right. What else is going on here? All right. Dynamis, man, Dom Rasso, boom, buddy from the SEAL teams. We're at SEAL Team 2 together. And they have a new website out, by the way. Go check out Dynamis Alliance. So check out that website. It has a bunch of workout stuff on there, training on there. Incredible. But they also have this combat flathead, and it's new. And it has this coating on it, so it's not going to rust. So if you've read the last few novels or been following me for a while, you know that I'm a big fan of the combat flathead. In fact, here's a couple more. So this is the older one right here. And, oh, what's this? Oh, another one. Because 2 is 1. one is none. But anyway, super cool. Dom, thank you so much for sending that. Absolutely love the combat flathead. And it might get some work in my latest novel, In the Blood, coming in 2022. So stay tuned for that. All right. Before I get into the books, what else? Outdoor Edge. Man, I posted a picture of an Outdoor Edge blade that I used up in Alaska, and Outdoor Edge saw it, and they noticed that it was an older version because I've been using Outdoor Edge for, I don't know, maybe 10 years-ish. And look at this. They sent some new ones. So if you don't know, Outdoor Edge is a company look at that thing. That's like a fillet knife right there. Look at that thing. Boom. But you replace the blades. So in the field, it gets dull. You're working on a moose, working on a bear, whatever you're working on, and gets dull. You pop out this and you put in another one. So very cool. It just seems to make sense. So I do love that. Love the orange also these days. So I don't lose it at night under a headlamp, or at least it's easier to find. So they sent out a couple. This one is called a Wouk Razor Wouk right there. So it's more of like check that out. You see that blade? Yeah, once again, you can replace it when it gets dull. And what's great about these also, if you do lose them, it's not like a family heirloom that was passed down from generation to generation, or something that was crazy expensive that someone gave you as a gift or whatever. You know what? Outdoor Edge is going to make more. They have made more. So that's, it's just a cool blade. So thank you, Outdoor Edge, for sending those. Awesome. I have quite a few in the collection. What else came in? Aimpoint. Man, I love Aimpoint. And if you've been following me for a while, you may have seen a picture from Afghanistan early on where I have an Aimpoint on my rifle. But even before that, before the SEAL teams, I remember the days of putting Aimpoints on the top of the carrying handles on an AR type platform. But and of course, things have progressed a lot since then. And Aimpoint's just a great company, great people. They've been wonderful to me over the years in the military and out. And this is the new one. This is the Comp M5s. So right here, I'm going to figure out which one of my ARs this is going on, but right there, awesome. Aimpoint, always crushing, just such a great crew. So thank you so much for sending this. Sincerely appreciate it. And looking forward to getting this on a rifle and then hopefully getting out somewhere, either to SIG Academy or to Thunder Ranch, drive down the road here, which is not a bad drive to Oregon from Park City, Utah, and get on the range with Clinton Heidi Smith out there and put this thing through the paces. So very cool. Thank you so much. What else? Man, this Alaska trip is really paying off because Leatherman also saw that the picture I posted of a Leatherman was an old one. It's the Wave, but I think they have a new edition of the Wave, but the Wave that I had was back from 2000, and they got in touch and they said, hey, told me where to check to find out what year it was. And sure enough, it's right there. If you open up a Leatherman, you can go inside and you can check and see the date. So mine was 20 years old. Over 20 years old, the Wave anyway. I bought a few back then because I loved it so much, just in the off chance they stopped making it. But they wanted to get some new multi-tools in my hand. So this is the Surge right here. And cool. I love the boxes. And this thing is, you can tell that this thing is serious. If you don't have a Leatherman, I don't know if you're really an American. Just kidding. But I remember Leatherman, my dad got one in, mid 80s, early 80s. I need to go find that early one. I have his sheath still. And that's what I use for my Wave, is that original sheath from the 80s, probably like 5th grade or so. I think like 1984 maybe. But I got to find that original Leatherman. I know I still have it. We've moved a couple times, but I want to check the date on that one. So I gotta find that original Leatherman of my dad's and check that out. But this is cool. So Leatherman, thank you so much for sending this. This is awesome. Everybody needs a Leatherman for sure. Everybody needs multiple multi-tools scattered about in every car, drawers in the house, that you need multi-tool. So very cool. And this is which one is this here? This is called the Free right here. So this is the Free, and this one, it has a clip on it. So if you're like Leatherman, and I know they've made them with clips before. I have a few that have clips, but if you're like, man, I wish Leatherman would make one with a clip. Well, they do. And it's this one, the Free. And this one's cool, like springs open on you. So this thing is pretty sweet. That is awesome. So once again, Leatherman, thank you. Thank you so much. It's, yeah, Leatherman has been part of my life for quite some time. Quite some time. What is this? Mike Ritland. Bam. Look at this. What's this title? Un-F-U asterisk CK America? Man. Very cool. So hopefully Mike's going to, we're figuring out a time to get him on the podcast on Danger Close. And I was on his podcast a couple of years ago. We had a great time. We've known each other for 20 plus years now. And he's a great guy. So check out his podcast for sure. He has a few books out there. The other ones are on like dog training and his journey, that sort of a thing. But great guy. This book right here, I read a very early version of it and got to blurb it. So Mike, thank you for sending me the early version. And this is an actual version. So appreciate you signing it. Means the world to me. So thanks, buddy. Hopefully we can jump on a podcast and talk soon. What else? All right. There's a lot going on this month. Black Raffle Coffee Company. If you haven't heard the news, yeah, they just went public. Awesome. Congratulations, guys. I mean, such a huge milestone in the history of your company and just everything that you guys are doing for veterans. Most people don't even know. I mean, you talk about some of it, but they don't know really the half of what you've done and what you continue to do for those who've stepped up in service of the nation. So, so thank you. And this is cool. Laissez-faire designed, I am sure. And this is from the Signature Subscription Coffee Club. You get a sticker every month. You get this cool box and you get a uniquely designed bag like this. And this is the operator bag. Look at that. It's a solid beard right there. Nice. I'll be opening this weekend as I finish up my latest novel. Just putting the finishing touches on some edits right now. And this will power me through. So thanks, guys. Thanks for all your support over the years and all you do. Let's see. What else is coming out here? Overland Journal. All right, Overland Journal. I'm sure you can get this digitally. I just like to have something physical in my hand. And Overland Journal, awesome for those of you out there into Land Cruisers and Jeeps and Defenders and getting out there. Overland Journal is a must. So this is the latest. What else? All right, Halites. Now, I don't know if I'm saying that right. I hope I am, but this is my first, luckily I got a couple of them to talk about, but look at this thing. This, I gave it a quick open right before turning on this to record. And the inside of this waterproof case is awesome. It's almost like, if you're into things that are indestructible, overbuilt, that sort of a thing, like a Yeti cooler, this is your gun case. So very cool. This thing is awesome. I'm looking forward to putting it through the paces here up to Alaska. Next trip to Alaska next year, I'll be taking this bad boy. And yeah, awesome. But they make a whole bunch of stuff. Like this. This is I think they call it an over bag, but it goes over your other sleeping bag if you need a little more warmth. A little more insulation. So I'm going to try this out as well. So that is very cool. Thank you for sending that. And then this bag, man, look at that. Look at the bottom. Oh yeah. Look at that backpack, the straps. I checked it out right before jumping on here and I need to put this thing through the paces, but this looks like a pretty sweet bag. So thank you guys so much for sending this. Check them out online. They have a great Instagram page or account. So check that out. Awesome. What else? All right. Check this out. This is Blue Ribbon Hardwoods. I think they have a website, Blue Ribbon HR. But anyway, just go to go to their Instagram, Blue Ribbon Hardwoods, and you can see all the stuff that they do on their Instagram and connect with them through there. But they made behind me on the wall, if you can see that, that's an American flag that Clinton Heidi Smith from Thunder Ranch got for me for my military retirement. And the stars are 45 brass. So it's pretty cool. And I love that thing. So this just arrived as well with the cross tomahawks. So that thing is pretty sweet. So thank you so much for sending that. Once again, Blue Ribbon Hardwoods. Very cool. All right. What else? Is that most everything? Oh, almost forgot. Jacket. What's that? the terminal list. Oh yeah. So very cool. Gary Tours from Xtreme Props, Xtreme Props, handled all the weapons, that sort of the gear on set, did an incredible job. He's a second generation armorer in Hollywood and has some amazing stories. Such a cool dude. He went so above and beyond to get the weapons, pistols, rifles, shotguns, knives, right for the terminal list, to include a bolt action rifle that if you're a fan of the novel and that first chapter, then you're going to like this show. He did such a great job. So thank you for sending this. And what is that? I think what that is still classified, but very cool. Thank you, Gary, for sending this. And this right here, man, Jay Glazer and Nate Boyer it's called Merging Vets and Players, MVP, helping veterans transition from military service and helping players in the NFL who are transitioning and putting those two groups together because there are a lot of similarities there. They're just doing such great work. So thank you guys for all you do. And Trinidad 3, that's Trinidad 3, has a line of clothing that supports their mission. So it's awesome. So Merging Vets and Players, vetsandplayers.org. Check them out, what they have going on. Such a solid crew, just great people. So, all right. Is that pretty much everything on the gear? It is. Moving on, November reading list. So I want to do something a little different with the November reading list because I get a question all the time and I get what is your favorite book? What are your top 5 favorite books? And I don't really like to talk about things in terms of favorites, especially when they are subjective, because it's, I've never really described things that way. There's so many books out there. My library here, it's in front of me. You can't really, obviously you can't see it, but there's a lot of books in there and so many of them have been impactful. So what I decided to do is, and I've talked about them before, but I've talked about them individually. And they've all been on past reading lists, but I'm going to choose my top most impactful books, my top most recommended books, my top most gifted books. And so I decided to pick those. And even though they've already been on reading lists in the past, now there's a one-stop shop, the November 2021 reading list selections. So they are my most recommended books, probably the most impactful. I kept thrillers. I didn't include thrillers on this list because I'm going to do a separate one of like my top 10 most impactful thrillers, just on me. And a lot of that's going to have to do with when you grew up, when you read these certain books, that sort of a thing. So luckily I've been a reader my entire life. My mom was a librarian, so I grew up surrounded by books and a love of reading. My dad encouraged me to read at every opportunity. So I feel very fortunate that I grew up in a house that placed such an emphasis on reading and its importance and made it a natural part of our lives. So these right here are the most impactful books, probably, not to include thrillers, which I'll do probably in 2022 at some point. But right here, they'd also make great gifts for Christmas for someone in, say, junior high, maybe, depending on their reading level. Definitely high school, for sure college, for sure the post-college years. And hey, if you're 40, 50, 60, and been out of college for a little bit, and you haven't read these, guess what? You can get started today. Officialjackcarr.com. You can check out a little more. I have a blurb written about each one of these, how it impacted me as an author, combat leader. And if you want to get them, you can click right there and get one. So, yeah, highly recommend you go and check that out. Once a month, I do these reading lists and I post them to the blog section of officialjackcarr.com. So here we go. Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged. So if you haven't read this, read it. Stop what you're doing. Stop. You can probably stop what you're doing right now. Don't even watch the end of the video. Just go to officialjackcarr.com, check it out. Maybe you just want to make sure, then click, get it, read it. I think there's probably an audiobook version too. I've never listened to an audiobook version of this, but reading it has been so impactful. And I haven't read it in a number of years, but I need to read it again because I can only imagine how relevant it is today, even though it was written couple of years back. But yeah, Ayn Rand. And this is other than the Bible, I believe this is the world's best-selling book. Although this generation doesn't really know much about it, but back in the day, This was serious business. Ayn Rand, an incredible woman. Check out her background as well. But and so I have two here. The Fountainhead written first, Atlas Shrugged written after that. And I like to ask people which one was the most impactful, or which one made the most impact on them. And a lot of times it's whichever one the person read first. And I read Atlas Shrugged first, even though it came out after Fountainhead. But I wonder if I had read the Fountainhead first, if that would be the one that left more of an impact. So if you're going to choose between the two, and I'm biased just because I read Atlas Shrugged first, and I think Ayn Rand even describes it as a more robust explanation in a novel form of her theory of objectivism. So philosophy of objectivism, if you will. Regardless, read them both. And they also double as weapons. You can tell they're pretty thick. You can knock somebody over the head with it, or use them as a doorstop if need be. So dual purpose right there. So definitely read those. The Winds of War and War and Remembrance. So these are companion reads, and if you read the first one, you will definitely move on to the second one. If you grew up in the '80s in the heyday of the TV miniseries, you'll remember War and Remembrance. You'll remember the Winds of War and what a big deal it was for these to come to network television. But they're historical fiction, so you're seeing World War II through the eyes of different characters, in particular a family. But you learn so much about World War II, about history, but it's humanized because you're reading about it through the eyes of these characters who you can identify with. Masterful work. Once again, Winds of War, War and Remembrance, Herman Wouk. He passed away, I think, with 2 years now. Amazing. Read these if you have not. And once again, great gifts for kids in junior high school for sure, college for sure. Great gifts for them. If they can put down the iPad, the iPhone, all that sort of a thing, and get into the pages of these novels, they'll also get a little bit of an appreciation, or a little more appreciation for what was sacrificed so that we can have the freedoms and the options and opportunities that we do today. So Herman Wouk, Winds of War, War and Remembrance. Yep. Required reading. And then here we go. Probably the most impactful book that I've read as a combat leader, as an author, is Once an Eagle by Anton Myrer. And this one is special because it was given to me by a Vietnam era Special Forces sniper who wrote something very impactful and emotional in the cover for me as I was starting my journey in the profession of arms. And this book is incredible. Once again, it's pretty thick. You got to commit. But I in turn passed this book on to leaders coming up in the SEAL teams. And what I would do is, in the front cover, I would write a letter, and it would frame why I was giving them this book. And it's historical fiction, once again, and it follows two guys from right before World War I up to Vietnam. And it's really a case study in leadership. And it's one officer and an enlisted guy who gets a battlefield commission in World War II, and their careers parallel each other as they go, with the politician officer just always slightly ahead of Sam Damon, the battlefield leader. And anyway, it's an incredible book. Highly recommend it. The earlier you can read this, the better. Junior high, high school for sure, college. If you haven't read it though, and you're a little older, start today. And then so in that letter that I'd put in the front, then at the end, I tell them, hey, there's a second letter. And that second letter is in the back. And to get to that second letter, they have to read the entire book, and it's sealed. The letter in the back is sealed. They have to read the entire book, and then they get my take on what they just read. And I didn't want to put that in the initial letter as I was framing why I was giving them this book. I didn't want to pollute their reading experience with my interpretation of what they had just read, or what they were about to read, I should say. So anyway, it's special. This book's special for a lot of reasons. It's on, I think, every military reading list from 1968 forward. And I'm sure it's on some today, although there are a couple books getting bumped off, I think, for some new books, if you've been following the news. But Once an Eagle, has its place forever on all military reading lists. But not just that, just books, leadership, just and leadership is something that is not just a business or military or whatever else. You can lead yourself, whatever your sphere of influence is, whether it's you and a spouse, whether it's you and spouse and kids, you, spouse, and neighbors, whether it's followers on social media these days, whatever it is. Leadership is an integral part of our lives, and Once an Eagle will definitely enrich your life. No doubt about that. So anyway, Once an Eagle, bam, that is the 5 probably most recommended, most impactful books that I have read. That is the November reading list. And I think that's most everything. So you can follow me, Jack Carr USA, on the social channels. Go to officialjackcarr.com for a little more on these books. There's some other blog postings on there, information about the novels, that sort of thing. You can click over to Jack Carr USA from there as well and go to the merch. And if you want to counter some of the reviews, especially that chocolate one, the one with the chocolate on the binding and on the pages and all that gave me a 2-star for his used book showing up with chocolate all over it. If you want to counter that one in particular, go to Amazon or review books and leave a 5-star. And you can do that for any of your favorite authors. We would all appreciate that. It means so much that you would take the time to leave something positive. So sincerely appreciate all that support. So that's November. Awesome. Hey, take care out there. Be strong. Stay safe. Keep fighting.